Hello everybody and welcome to Senior Susie Stamps. I'm Julia and I'm glad you're here today. I've got a fun project for us. I started out the day thinking that I might do something with white paper scraps, but look. This is all the white paper scraps I've got in the studio. Just some little strips and not much at all in my larger white paper scrap drawer. So we'll have to wait another day for me to do a white paper scrap video. You need that for backing things. I did use a little bit of it today with some of my punches, and these are some of the punches that I used in the project that we're going to look at today. This little daisy punch and this little 4-petal punch that's been around for years. This is a Paper Studio punch. It's a little 6-petal flower punch. I've got a 3/8 inch circle punch, and then a little Paper Studio leaf punch. So let me get them out here because I've already punched everything for us just to kind of save some time. I keep card fronts on my desk that are A2 size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so it's a full panel. And when I'm working up a design, I find it very helpful to work off of one of these rather than a card base. For some reason, it just seems to work a little easier for me. For one thing, it doesn't lift up when you're fiddling with stuff like a card base can, and that way if you mess something up, you can always flip it over and use the back again as a white panel. So let's get into what we're going to work on today. I found some paper scraps. Imagine that. Oh, and here's the other punches. This is a little tiny circle punch, and you can see just how small that is. And then this is just a regular old-fashioned, I don't know, these are probably 1/4 inch round punches. And they do a great job when you've got a little small piece like this to just punch some circles out of. And this one does a much smaller one. You can see there. Looks like Swiss cheese, doesn't it? And then I used a white pen. Now this happens to be a Uniball pen, and I really like these pens, but I find that they dry up on the tip very, very easily, and it just frustrates me because here I've got this pen full of ink and the tip's dry, and I've done everything I possibly can do to loosen that tip up to where it will start pulling the white ink again. And if you have any suggestions on how to do that, I wish you'd leave them in the comments because I have been totally unsuccessful. So this is not my favorite pen, and it's strictly because of that reason. Otherwise, I absolutely love this pen, but I've used it today, and I'm going to move it out of the way. I had just a small, kind of smallish pack of scraps for that paper, and I decided I was going to try not to cut any more than I absolutely had to. And I had some little T90 pieces about like this, and I did punch them up and make some flowers that completes that. And what I was doing was playing off of this flower just so that I would have something that I could elevate up for these cards a little bit. So this piece ends up being almost the perfect size for the first layer. Now this, as I said, is a full-sized panel, but I'm going to go ahead and use that as it is, and then we'll glue that directly onto a card front. So this piece then is a 1/4 inch down, the first layer, so it's going to be 4 by 5 1/4, and it just happened to work out that way because, as I said, I'm trying very hard on these scraps not to do a lot of cutting on them. And you'll see how I've developed some cards later on today that use just an assortment of different sizes and what have you. Now this little red piece is the back side of that, and so I thought it would be fun to use that just as a layer, then use this little chevron piece just as an accent piece on this card. And I cut apart some of the sentiments that Maureen sent to me that I introduced to you last video, and so that I could use them and make them sending happy thoughts cards today. I think that's just a nice general sentiment that you can have on hand, and then you can fill out the inside for birthday or thinking of you, or whatever you end up doing. Now this one I'm just going to put across the center of the card because I'm going to use that little hexagonal piece as my focal point on this card. Now as I lay this one down, I'm looking to make sure it goes with the polka dots, so that it looks right on the card. There we go. Now on this one, I believe I'm going to put that up on some foam, and I have this little pink and turquoise flag here. Let me turn some more lights on. I wondered why I was in the dark. It's because I forgot to turn so many lights on. Well, that's just the way it rolls around here sometimes. Okay, so now I'm thinking that I'll put that on this way and have those the top and the little polka dots come across straight that way, and then down here. There. Now you can see I've already added my gem for this flower so that it'll kind of coordinate with these two that I made. And these I meant to put on underneath that. Let me see if I can prise that back up without ruining something a little bit. I may have to cut them off shorter. Nope, I think it's going to work. All right then. Nope, I don't think it's going to work. Stay with me. Here we go. So I'm going to put the turquoise on the back and put this one on the front. I think I'll put a little drop of glue on there just to hold them together while I'm trying to stuff them up in here, since I forgot to put them on to begin with. There we go. Now, how's that? That is fine. And then I'm going to put a little drop of glue on this side to glue that little focal point down again. There we go. That's already a pretty card. Now let's see. I'm going to say sending happy thoughts. Let's see about placement on these. And I think that'll work just fine. Yep, I like that. I do think I'll need a little piece of foam up underneath those two corners, and I have these little foam squares that I'm trying to get used up. And let's put those up underneath the corner here. And then I'm going to put a little glue on this other side here. And put that down like that. And then I'm going to do this one the same way, and then we'll center the happy between them. Here we are. And now all we have to do is happy. Happy, happy, happy. And we're just going to put a little glue on that and call it done. And that's the first card front done, except for my little flowers. And I'm just going to try to set them in and soften some of these edges a little bit, I think. Maybe I'll set them over here on top of these with a little piece of foam. How about that? I think that'll work just fine. And there we are. Sweet little card front. And all I'll do then is to glue this onto my card base, and it'll be ready to roll out the door. Let's look at card number 2. Let's see where that one is. This one with memories. Again, I'm going to use my standard A2 white card front panel here. And then I have a piece of the flowered paper and a piece of more flowered paper. I'm going to set that askew, And then I'm going to put this one here. Now, the question I had earlier that I couldn't make up my mind about, and I have to make it up now, is do I like it like that, or do I want to put the memories sheet up on some white cardstock, because I'm going to have happy thoughts on here as well. Happy thoughts, and then I have these two hearts, but I'm not really sure that I'm going to use those, so those are kind of up for debate still. But I have flowers that I made, and these were the same way, that just the little ones, that they mimic this flower that's right here. And let's look at that again. I kind of like it without that white border. So what I'm going to do, because I do want to elevate it up, I'm going to mount it up onto this white piece and then trim it. That's the plan. And I'm using Books by Hand PVA glue today. I started using that 2 years ago now, I think. And I am very well satisfied with that glue. It's much less expensive than art glitter glue. So I save my art glitter glue for the things that I need fast glue time, and I use it up that way. But I like this Books by Hand PVA glue, and I will leave a link to it in the description box below, because it's very reasonable as far as crafting glue is concerned. It goes through a fine point tip very well. Rarely do I clog the tip on that, whereas with my art glitter glue I am challenged on getting my tips clogged on those. Okay, let's get these scraps out of here, and let's get this glued down and see what it looks like. I'm going to put this layer down first. Looks like I might need to refill my glue bottle. Now on this layer, it almost kind of looks like it's an A2 size layer, doesn't it? Because it leaves an equal border all the way around that piece, which is nice. And I may do a little doodled edge on that. We'll have to see. And then on this one, I'm just going to put it down so it's askew, rather than trying to make it focused at an angle, or at an angled focus, I guess I should say. I just want to put it down there kind of odd, at an odd shape. There we go. And then this one I'm going to put up on some foam. I need to trim just a touch right there if I can get it. There. Now I need some foam for that one. Here we go. And see, I didn't cut either one of those. Those were scraps as they came. And it just happens that this one was a A2 size layer, and that one looks to be square. I didn't measure it to see whether it was or not, but I think it looks pretty square if it's not really square. And then this one, I think I'm going to straighten it up, I believe, and hang it off to the side over here. And it's not quite straight. There we go. And then I'm going to glue my happy thoughts down, and I'm going to put this one kind of at a little angle as well. And then I have a couple of little flowers. And some little leaves. Let me try these kind of up here maybe. Let's do them that way, and I'm going to put a little piece of foam up underneath this one as well. And then I'm just going to stick that little piece of leaf greenery up underneath it, like that, and put it down up here. And there's one, and I'll do the same thing with this one. It'd help if I'd put the foam on the right side, or the correct side, I guess I should say. There we go. And then I'm going to pick that one up And I think I'll put it maybe right here. There. That's a nice little card front. And I may go back later and do a little doodled edge. I'm not so sure about that right now. I do think I would like to put one of those red gems on this, however. So let me put a little drop of glue right there. That glue was a little bit too big of a drop, I think. Let me pull some of that off. And these are my little flowery gems. And I'm going to get my jewel picker just to pull one out. Maybe I'll get that done. Oh, well, Julia, that's the wrong way. Wrong way up. Another little drop of glue. These things happen. Now maybe I can get it right. There we are. Now what do you think? Oh yeah, I think that makes a difference in that little bit of sparkle on the card. Really helps, doesn't it? Okay, so there's my card front number 2. And let's look at card number 3 and see where we're going with it. Oh, this is one that, again, I just used the papers as I got them out of the storage pack. And this one will lay in like that. No measuring. Now these two were square pieces, and I thought it would be fun to turn the square ends back just a little bit. Let me get this put down because I know I kind of want it going in the middle. I think I'll use my ATG gun on this one since my glue needs to be refilled. Good grief. Okay. And again, this is not an A2 size layer, so it's going to be a little uneven, a little bit less at the top and the bottom than it is at the sides. That's okay. We're using up scrap paper and doing what we need to do with that. This is where I should have taken a picture of what I was working on, but I think this is going to be just fine. And I'm going to go ahead and glue this one on. Let me try it this way and see. That way. And then this way. Yeah, I think I'll do it that way. Kind of keep the square parts squared up, and then let the other parts angle up a little bit. There we go. Okay, and I believe I'll put a little drop of glue right there to kind of hold that down, and one right here. There we are. Let's see what else we got in here. Oh, I got some more flowers I made. What have we got? We have flowers. We also have some little tiny white punch things. And this was a punch. I punched 2 of them out of some white paper scrap that had Xyron on the back of it. And so the Xyron is actually still on the back of this piece. And I'm just going to use that as the white base for my focal point right here in the middle of this card. There we go. I chose to use the black Sending Happy Thoughts today on this one, and I'm just going to go ahead and glue them down. And we're going to do the sending and thoughts first, and then we'll do the happy in the middle. And I'm just going to hang the thoughts off about the same side, same amount that I've got the sending hung off the side there. And then we'll see if we can snuggle this little happy right up in the middle of it and see how that works. There we go. I think that works fine. And you can do this with sentiments sometimes. sometimes they kind of overlap a little bit, and it's hard to get a good cut going, but it adds, you know, a little interest to the reading of the piece. Now I've got these little flowers that I used to punch, and there's one polka dot layer, and then I think 2 white layers all glued up together. And when I glued the top layer on, I skewed it just a little bit where you could see the white, and then the little white center dot, there's 2 glued up on that. So I want to do something along the lines of maybe this, and kind of break the lines a little bit. And by that I mean I'm breaking over this line and giving it a little bit of continuity and movement in the piece to do that. So let's just glue these down flat. I don't think we need any more dimension on this piece particularly. There's one. This one's going to have a little bit of dimension because it's going to be stuck up on the Sending Happy Thoughts tag, so it will stick up just a little bit on that. There we go. And then this one I'm going to put down here and break that little triangle of lines up just a little bit. And then I thought it would be fun just to dot these little white pieces around like you would little ink dots. I don't know how many I've got. I better not get too much ink going, glue going there. But I just thought that would be fun. Just a little accent that really kind of brings out the white centers of those flowers. I think I need one more. We just punched some a while ago, so let's just use those. Yay! I think I'm going to do maybe a couple here and one there. There we go. And that just adds a little whimsy to this card. And there we are. So there's a good card front made out of scraps, and I could not tell you what the size of those pieces of paper was. But there's a lot of lift on these 2 folded back pieces of paper. It really showcases this pattern paper well, and I think it's a cute card front. I wanted to show you these acetate, I guess you could call them a template perhaps. I've got 3 of them here. I just have 2 of them in my hand. Let's see. And I'm hoping that you maybe can see what I'm talking about here on the desk, because this is 3 1/4 by 6 1/4. This is A2 size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and this one is 4 by 6. And I use these when I have a piece of paper like this that I can't quite figure out the best way to cut, because I don't want to diminish this pattern particularly, but I do want to be able to put some additional top layers on here. And if I cut it, see, if you cut it way over here and don't trim any off of that side, then by the time you put your little strip on here, you're starting to cover up your butterfly. So it's better to move your cut strips and cut 2 a little bit off of each side. So it's looking like maybe 1/4 of an inch off of this side, and then I'll trim this to 4 because I'm going to use the 4 by 6 card base for this. And on this one, because I don't have any card fronts in a 4 by 6 front, these are lightweight cards. I normally wouldn't buy them, but there's some that I had on hand, and want to get them used up as soon as I can. So let's start by doing the trim work on this piece, and I'm going to trim 1/4 inch off of this side here. So this is 4 3/4, so I'm going to trim it down to 4 1/2. There we go. And then I'm going to trim the whole thing down to 4, because the card front is, or the card is 4 by 6. That should be pretty much an exact match. Looks like I'm going to have to trim the top just a little bit on this. So I'm going to go ahead and put my glue down, knowing I'm just going to have to trim that top a little bit. And that's fine, because it uses up this entire piece of paper that way. And it doesn't matter if you have to trim part of your top or bottom card. You just need to have it square, so that you're trimming it all off of one side and it doesn't get all whooper-jawed on you. Whooper-jawed. I don't know where that came from, whooper-jawed. But we used to say it, so I'm saying it now. Whooper-jawed. Okay, I want to trim this off and try not to get into the designer paper at all, so that it stays kind of square that way. There we go. Not much, was it? But just enough not to look finished. And then I thought maybe this little piece would be a pretty little addition there. Let's see. And then I've got a little piece to go on the inside, don't I? Because we can do this for the inside. And then I got a bunch of stuff there. Let me just go ahead and get the inside strip finished here. And we get that put on the card. And get that little piece used up that normally we just would have thrown in the trash, but it makes a nice little addition to the inside of this card. Uh-oh. I didn't want to do that. That's okay. Nice thing about that glue is it dries clear. And then we'll just put a little tiny white border on this outside, just in case the paper's not trimmed exactly squared up. There we go. So there's the inside done, and then I'm going to put this strip down and see what else I've got over here that I made out of the other little tiny scraps of paper. I think I've got some more flowers, maybe. And all I'm doing here is doing 3 borders that are approximately the same. And there we go. I'm using that one up. Now let's dump this out and see what we got. I have another little flowery piece here that I need to trim down some. I trimmed that one down to 1 inch, so I think I'm going to trim this one down to about maybe 5/8 of an inch if I can get there. And that means moving this way over there. I'll save that for just right now in case I need something a little bit later. I might be able to use a little piece of that on one of these other 3 cards. So I'm going to put this one in here. And then I have a little flag that I was able to cut out of another little piece of that scrap. And I think I'll kind of offset that. And because the butterfly's there and this kind of helps your eye move around, I'm going to move this flag up some. Now the way I made this flag was I folded back, I don't know, 3/8 inch. And I'm going to glue that down up here over this way some. And then I'm going to glue this in. Oops. Helps if I get it going the right way. And I'm going to try to get my stripes lined up here. But I want to get it moved all the way up underneath here so it's not hanging out too much. Well, if I do, it gets a lot wider over there. Let's just leave it that way and see what it looks like. Okay, now I made some flowers out of another punch, and this was the daisy punch, and then I took my little scissors and cut in some little notches at the end, because I don't know if you can see it or not, but this little flower here has kind of a daisy shape to it, and it has little punched in notches at the outside there. And I did the same thing. I backed it with white heavy cardstock and put my designer paper kind of askew on top of the white, and then I used my little 3/8 inch punch and some of that red paper, and so that's what we're going to use to glue these down with. So it's 1, 2, and then maybe 3 down here, and then I have these 2 little red flowers as well, and we're just going to put them somewhere in there and put our sentiment on. So let me go ahead and get some foam up underneath the center of this one, and I'm going to put a little drop of glue up underneath this little flag just to kind of hold the top down. But now the bottom, you can see, is loose, and it will raise up just a little bit. But we're going to put this kind of over here like that. There we go. And then I'm going to put another one of these little little foam dots on this one, bring it all the way up to here where that join comes in there. Okay, now I'm going to do the sending happy thoughts, and I think I'm going to leave it low down here, and I'm just going to cut this black edge off, and I think I'll just glue it down flat just as it is, because there's a lot of other dimensional interest going on this card. And we'll see if we can just snuggle that right up underneath here, but low enough where it doesn't cover up too much. There we are. And now I think I have 2 more little red flowers here, maybe there and there, so we get a triangulation going here. I'm just going to glue those flat down in the center. There we are, and maybe right here. There. So we got a triangle here and a triangle here, and it helps your eye to kind of move around. We've also got some interest with this flag here and the layers there, and then this is the inside of the card. So this one's ready to finish whenever I get to it. And let me show you the rest of them again. And that all of the scraps then for that paper are completely used up, except for these 2 little tiny ones here and those 2 little hearts, and they are going in the bin. So here we are. I'm still thinking maybe a little heart. Now I just don't like that. I just don't like it. I'm sure some people do, but I just didn't care very much for that. So these will be ready to mount up on a card base, and there's the 4 cards for today. Sending happy thoughts, and I'm sending happy thoughts your way. So I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you again real soon. Bye, everybody.